Hey, everybody, welcome back to Cannabis Legalization News. I'm Tom, your friendly neighborhood cannabis lawyer, here to give you the real, unfiltered scoop on what's going down in the world of weed. Today's episode is called Why Cannabis Will Be Heavily Regulated for Years. And trust me, this one's going to hit home for many of our viewers. Whether you're an old school activist, a kind of curious entrepreneur, or somebody who likes to stay in the know, this one is not to be missed. You know that meme from The Simpsons where the bus driver is tapping a sign that says, "Don't talk to the driver"? If you don't know it, look up "Don't Make Me Tap the Sign" on Know Your Meme. But for today, our sign says, most people are not the pothead you are. And yeah, that's the cold, hard truth. We love weed. You love weed. But that's not the rest of the world. The rest of the world, yeah, not so much. And that, my friends, is why legal cannabis will be buried under layers of regulation for this foreseeable future. Now, before we dive in, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. And while you're at it, leave us a comment. We want to hear your thoughts about today's topic. Your thoughts are part of the conversation that drive our channel forward. Serious, we love hearing from our members of the community, and your perspectives help us shape future episodes. So let's get into it. Now, if you think that legalization means you're about to open up a grow from your backyard garden and you can break off a few zips at your local farmer's market, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. We have red tape everywhere, and that's what it means for you as a consumer entrepreneur or somebody just curious about how this industry and legalization works. Let me start by tapping the side again. And I'm not trying to pretend that most people are not the pothead I am. I'm sorry, pothead. Okay, great. Now, after that Simpsons joke, we're kicking off this episode with some psychology. Have you ever heard of the spotlight effect? It's where you think everyone is paying attention to you, but they're actually super into whatever they're paying attention to. So, newsflash, they are not paying attention to you. These people are too wrapped up in their own little worlds to care. That spotlight, like you're the logo from Pixar, a lamp that focuses on only what you see and nothing else. This is the default for humans. So when you run into one, you're bumping into another spotlight. There are shared effects where people think certain things, and polls indicate, for example, that 88% of Americans support legal medical cannabis. So that is your base rate, another psychological or at least statistical term for average. When you run into someone else, that is the base rate. Whatever that default rate is, 88%. So you meet somebody on the street, 88% of them may support legalizing marijuana. But what percentage are deeply connected to the cannabis plant on a personal level like yourself? Not many. If there are 1 million people that work in the cannabis industry and 350 million Americans, and you're one of those people working in the cannabis industry, like lots of our viewers and our members do, you're basically like the THC in hemp, at least how it was supposed to be, the 0.3%, one third of 1%. And there are not yet even a million Americans working in the cannabis industry. So your spotlight effect is completely different than most on the cannabis issue. And that's the problem. A lot of cannabis activists think that because they care deeply about legalization, everyone else must care deeply too. But most people, the other 99+%, are busy worrying about their rent, their dinner, their kids, or whether they left the oven on. I am going to text them and make sure I didn't. They are not concerned about the intricacies of THC caps or dispensary zoning laws or whether medicinal or adult use legalizations happens. And when activists act like everyone should be on the same page, it alienates people who might actually support the cause if it was framed differently. You have to meet people where they are, not where you wish they are. This isn't about just shouting louder. It's about being strategic in how we approach the conversation about the broader public. Now, our goal might be to get 1,000 steps down the road, but it's best to take it one step at a time, the first one in front of the next if you want to get there. Skipping ahead, because that's how it should be, is a surefire way to not make any progress at all. And that's why we really have to kind of tap the sign right here a lot. A lot of folks come into the cannabis industry with experiences they had living outside of the rules, thinking, I've been growing weed in my basement for years, or I'll just open a grow because I sold a few ounces in college, and they want to have a dispensary. That is way different than how it is. It's more like saying, hey, I like cooking. I'm a good cook. I'm going to open a Michelin-starred restaurant. No, you're not, bro. At least not right out of the gate. Running a cannabis business isn't just about passion, helps, but it's about navigating complex regulations, understanding compliance, and managing the business side of things. So you want to know why there are so many regulations in the cannabis industry? It's because to the average American and the average government bureaucrat, this just isn't weed. It's a Schedule One drug. To them, you're basically saying, hey, I'm going to start dealing LSD for health, but like, legally for medical purposes. But I'm not a doctor. You see how silly that sounds. And that's why the rules are so tight. And until public perception shifts, until the average person doesn't think weed and immediately picture a stoner on the couch from Pineapple Express or Cheech and Chong, those regulations aren't going anywhere. And let's be real, changing public perception isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. It's been going on for marijuana for decades, and it's taken time and effort and a whole lot of education to get to where we are here right now. That's why hemp has been so dangerous, because for years we've been chipping away at medical cannabis, having a currently accepted medical use. And then it's like they dropped the whole thing as if it was a charade. And you have people getting really, really high from stuff bought from gas stations, stronger than what you can buy at a licensed dispensary. That warps the public perception to make it all about getting messed up, man. And not health and wellness as serious medicine. Speaking of public perception, let's talk about that, because here's something a lot of advocates miss. Most people don't see weed or cannabis like you do. Don't make me tap the sign. To you, it's medicine, it's relaxation, it's a part of your lifestyle. But to your Aunt Karen and her senator in Iowa, it's a gateway drug. To your coworker who's never touched it, it's something that those sketchy people do. To your church going cousin, it stinks, and it's something dirty people do. To all the uninformed, it's still a dangerous drug they heard about from those outdated PSAs and then just moved on with their life and didn't think about weed again. So, if we're really serious about legalization, we have to meet people where they are at. That means addressing their concerns, whether it's about safety, youth access, or just plain old stigma. You can't change the law without changing the minds first. And that takes patience and strategy, not just passion. We need to engage in a thoughtful dialogue and provide facts to counter decades of misinformation. So let's really drive this home. Legalization means regulation, at least for now. You are not going to get the right to light up a joint wherever you want. You're just stepping into a heavily regulated industry that is trying to not be a Schedule One drug anymore. And this is the kicker, and it's a good thing. Without these regulations, we'd all end up with a Wild West where big corporations steamroll small businesses and communities most harmed by prohibition get left in the dust. We've seen this with hemp, where there's no rules and they lead to all sorts of untested products marketed to kids, and the cheapening of the progress that we've made to educate the public that cannabis is a serious medical plant. And, you know, people will harangue the industry because it's purportedly full of corporate MSOs. These MSOs do not have it like the chicken industry. They have license caps. They have trouble getting a new license in a different state. The states all have different markets because they're all regulated. And with all these regulations, it means that you just can't wing it. You need lawyers. That's where people like me come in. You need compliance officers, and you need to understand tax codes and make sure that your head doesn't spin. And trust me, the IRS doesn't care how much you love the plan. They care about their tax dollars. All right, let's tackle the big one: federal legalization. People think it's going to be this magic wand that fixes everything overnight. Spoiler alert, it is not. Why? Don't make me tap the sign. Even when cannabis is federally legal, you'll still have to deal with state regulations, local zoning laws, and the IRS, or whatever taxing authority is put into place once the statutory regime, which doesn't exist at the federal level, is regulating cannabis at an interstate commerce. Let's not even get started on interstate commerce and federal taxes. Federal legalization isn't the end game. It's just the next level of the game. And if you're not ready for it, you're going to get left behind. Its first phase will probably be legal medical cannabis with heavy regulations to ensure purity and no diversion of the supply of that cannabis. That will probably last for 5 to 10 years before full legalization is something that the normies in Nebraska will even entertain. And it's political, so you could see regression of progress back to ingrained prejudices. So what's the takeaway here? Cannabis legalization isn't just about loving weed and saying it should be just as legal as tomatoes. It's also about understanding the laws, the business, and broader public perception of the plant. If we want real, lasting change, we need to step outside our weed loving spotlight effect and see the bigger picture. We need to fight the battles we can win and not shove trademark infringing unregulated products through loopholes at gas stations. This cannabis is a real medicine that can help people. And that message has produced results over the past 30 years. And even before, if we consider the original federal medical patients from way back in the late 70s and early 1980s. Thanks for tuning in to Cannabis Legalization News. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you're always up to date. And hey, drop a comment below. We want to know what your thoughts are. So let us hear them. Don't make me tap the sign again. You hate that.